can start living. It's a place I used to know. I've been giving and giving. It's better just to see you down the road. It's not far off, I won't take advice. My heart's in protection mode. I'll just sneak away. While no one is looking. When I'm back this way, I'll let you know. Until then, I just have to go. While my heart is sleeping, I'll think about you where I go. No matter where I go. I'm not looking for paradise, but that's a place I'd like to go. I could be ready and willing, but that's further on down the road. Just get off, I won't take advice. My heart's in protection mode, and I'll just sneak away. While no one is looking. When I'm back this way, I'll let you know. Until then, I just have to go. While my heart is sleeping, I'll think about you where I go. No matter where I go. I'll let you know. Until then, I just have to go. While my heart is sleeping, I'll think about you where I go. When I'm back this way, I'll let you know. Until then, I just have to go. While my heart is sleeping, I'll think about you where I go. No matter where I go.
That's George Millette. That is George Millette from Brighton, Ontario. We released that song back in the summer, and we really didn't get the traction on it that we were after. And I really think it's a well-produced song. If you look at the video, if you look at the visuals in that video, you'll find that the visuals in that video are well connected with the theme of the lyric. And so this is a musician who I believe is someone that, to me, sets the bar in some ways, because he not only produces great music, he played everything that you hear on those tracks, plus he produced the video and then used content in the video, content placement in the video to accent the lyrics of the song. I think that's just brilliant. I mean, that's just how I think when I evaluate music and I evaluate art and what artists are doing. Well, we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be discussing those last three, Achilles heels of being a musician. And before we do, I got to invite my co host. He's a great guy from the East Coast. He is a co host with the most, and his name is Sean McKenna from the podcast Barstools and Band Talk. Rim Shots with Sean. Sorry, man.
How's it going?
Good to have you here with me tonight.
Yeah, fun.
What do you think of that video?
It was cool. It was, yeah, I liked, the visuals were great. It was pretty cool.
It's interesting because those visuals. I mean, isn't that train he was standing from? Isn't that in Kingston on the harbor?
I can't. It's been so long since I've been to Kingston. I couldn't say.
I know one of the pieces in there was him standing in front of the nickel in front of at Sudbury.
Oh yeah. The last time I was there,
everybody knows the famous nickel, right?
Oh yeah, it's, Sudbury. Well, you know what? Some people don't like Sudbury. I've always had a great time when I was in Sudbury. We used to play the Colson, and there was another bar, Coach House, maybe. I met Alex Trebek's mother at the Coach House.
Cool.
Used to be a restaurant right in front of it.
Wow.
And it was a hotel, bar, restaurant. So yeah, I met his mom.
Interesting. You never know who you're going to meet. That's at 3 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
All the time, man.
Hey, I was this week. Something that came up in one of my news feeds was, of course, of Jason Bonham leaving the latest project of Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
So there's that whole generational thing again. Do you have the same opinion or thoughts about Jason Bonham versus his dad?
I think
did he use that fame?
I don't know. That one to me was funny, right? Because everybody's like, "That's the business." Okay, it's the business till it happens to you, so you don't have any empathy for it happening to somebody until it happens to you, right? The backstory is he took a leave of absence because his mother was sick and almost dying, and so for doing a good thing, he, I guess, is more or less punished for it. And I think
no good deed is left unpunished.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I think that anybody utters the word "that's business," somebody actually that's the music business. Well, that's not the music business I want to be a part of. And if that's the way the music business works, then I don't want to work with people that are like that. And I don't think it has to be the music business. I think there can be some honor, and I don't think that was a bright moment for Sammy Hagar, who I have a lot of respect for.
Well, there's a certain amount, okay, and again, I think there has to be a little bit of leeway when it comes to what we decide is what's the word I'm looking for, Sean? When you talk about the way people treat each other in this business, integrity.
Well, yeah. See, the problem is, well, there's many problems, but anytime you hear the term, "Oh, well, that's just business," okay, well, that usually comes just before somebody's going to try to justify why they're screwing you over, and you should be good with it, right? And that's fine. But then when the shoe's on the other foot, it never works out that way, and that's just been my experience. And I'm going to say, I don't profess to getting everything right. I don't profess to knowing everything, but one thing I am not wired to do is to be that guy that's going to grease people for the sake of my well-being and getting ahead. And it's probably held me back, in many ways. But I just, that situation for me, and I mean, you don't know, maybe there's other stuff going on. You don't know. But the other thing that nobody's attacking or talking about, did Kenny Aronoff, contact Jason and say, "Hey, man, sorry." Because I know I've been in situations where I've seen people take other people's gigs, and they're not the least bit thankful or gracious or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the other thing is that what's the other drummer's name again? Kenny
Aronoff.
Yeah, Kenny is he's got history with Sammy anyway. I mean, they played in Chickenfoot. They toured in Chickenfoot together.
Yeah, but that Chad Smith was the original drummer in that.
Right, but Chad didn't even finish out that whole tour. Like Sammy has been known for changing up his back line.
Well, so I guess anybody that knows his history, he had a long time drummer by the name of Dave Lauser. Lauser, I think it was, and he played with him forever. And then when he went to Van Halen, if he did a solo stuff, he would get his old band, I think Gary Chen and those guys. Um, so he did that for a bit. I guess what if you're playing with Sammy and you're a drummer and you say I need to take a couple weeks off and he gets Kenny Aronoff, you might as well just keep your bags packed because you're not getting the gig back. It just seems to be the way it
Well,
goes.
here's the other thing I think as well. Sammy's at the end of his career, right? So he's maybe thinking, you know what? I want to play with a whole bunch of different guys here as I'm, in the limelight of my career here. And I want to give my fans and followers a different feel of Sammy Hagar with every show we do. Maybe that's
So right on. So
who
you just say
knows.
that? Do you say that to your significant other? Ah, I'm in the twilight of my life, and that's ridiculous. It's I mean, and no offense, but you know, what a what a statement if that's a statement that he's making that I want to see Sammy Hagar or anybody wants to see Sammy Hagar. Like anyway, I just that type of thing, and I've seen that on like a local level,
Right,
um, and a different thing, but the same principle. So the
right,
Boston Bruins had Jim Montgomery coaching them. He gets fired, and within 5 days lands a job in St. Louis as the head coach, who already had a coach. But the GM was like, "Oh well, we had the opportunity to get this guy, so we're firing our guy." So the guy that they fired is supposed to, say, "Oh well, hey guys, good luck and whatever." No, you got that's like, and the whole press conference was the GM trying to justify that he did something absolutely greasy and said, well, that's the hockey business. Well, then guess what? Your business is terrible. Straight
I
up.
I lost a job one time so they could use mine and others' salaries to pay the parting CEO of the company.
Yes, and all that stuff happens too. There's no question. I mean,
Where does integrity start? Where does it end? And then there's that whole other concept of loyalty.
well, I think they're foreign words these days because I think it's just ingrained in people's kind of heads. Um, I mean, 4 years ago, we're being told by people that are quote unquote leaders, to dime out your neighbors if you think that they're having too many people in their house, right?
Right,
And
right, right.
I just had a power surge. I don't know what happened there, but anyway, so I just think it's that's just kind of the way the world's working these days, right? There's no loyalty, there's no integrity. It's the me self care sort of deal, and the people that actually do care about people, if you find any folks like that, invest in them because they're becoming fewer and fewer.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because people use certain words in my world that to me have almost become meaningless.
Such as,
Loyalty,
yeah,
right? Because
well,
because because loyalty means something in terms of building relationships, don't you think? Brand
it
loyalty, all that stuff.
yeah, it does. So here's the one thing where sometimes that can get gummed up when you have one way loyalty, and I've dealt with this quite a bit, where somebody isn't necessarily loyal, but they think they're being loyal, and then they tick somebody off, and they think that that person that they ticked off isn't loyal, and all of a sudden you're not being loyal. It's like, well, you didn't start out being loyal, and you want me to be loyal, right? So loyalty is a funny thing because it's sometimes it's perception versus reality, and sometimes it's reality. And
Well,
that's kind of a very deep sort of thing, but
and to me, loyalty comes with working with someone to build a relationship. It's not just, all pure business, especially if there's a business relationship. There has to be that piece of it involved that's that human factor, right? Of engagement.
yeah, but I my personal belief, people are getting worse and worse and worse and worse at dealing with each other. And I'll give you an example. I've got a friend that every time he gets an opportunity to go and make a comment on somebody's post, if the band's doing a cover song, he's ripping them about doing cover songs. Okay. Um, but what did he do? He doesn't play anymore because he doesn't want to do cover songs and, his originals nobody wants to listen to. So, you know, if somebody is doing something that's making them happy, just let them do it.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, here is the whole thing that I'm finding that, there's a shrinking and not a really super robust market for indie artists to go out there and play just nothing but their own tunes all night.
Doesn't it? Well, there is a pocket of it in Halifax. There's got some, like, we got a place here called Gus's Pub, which it absolutely encourages original music. Another one is the Seahorse, the Marquee. Those places encourage original music. But if you're going to come to our fair city, that's always touted as this music mecca of the East Coast, you're going to hear a lot of folk. You're going to hear a lot of Celtic. You're going to hear a lot of one or two people playing acoustic guitars. Not a lot of full bands. And that's just, and a lot of cover tunes.
Yeah, I don't find that to be particularly the case throughout Ontario. I find the club owners are more interested in, who's going to put the bums in the seats and who's going to get people up dancing and drinking, right? I mean,
I love when they dance, but dancing and drinking. Do
yeah.
they drink when they dance?
Well, according to Diamond Dave, you could dance with a drink in your hand at 128 beats a minute and not spill your drink.
Well, that's interesting, but most of the bars that I play don't allow people to have drinks on the dance floor.
No, I think most of them don't do that anymore. But I can remember a few back in the day where their beers were allowed everywhere.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's like, and hey, I'll probably get in trouble saying this, but you get bands that they're playing. Somebody says to me 2 weeks ago, I'm going to do 90 shows this year. Great, but it's like you're pretty much playing them all within a 25-kilometer radius of each other, and you're doing it. And if that's what you want to do, great, 100%. I get that, but it's just sort of thing, like, back to the guy that was ripping on people with doing cover tunes. Whatever people's goals are their goals, and let them do what they want to do. Like, stop trying to, if I want to be in a cover band, stop crapping on me because I want to be in a cover band.
Yeah, just observe it and move on.
Right, absolutely.
Observe it and move on. I think that's good. That's really good advice. Before we get too deep in tonight, I really just want to let people know really what's been going on here at Indie Tunes Records. It's been really, really busy. This month we've had several releases. We've got Medusa. We got The Night from Damsel. They're a band from out on the West Coast. We got Medusa from our friends at Vision of Morpheus. That came out this month. They're in the Oshawa area. Faded Picture by Angry Hill. They're out of Boston, Massachusetts. All Around There's More. You just heard that a couple of weeks back on one of our shows here. That's a single by George Millette. That comes out the end of this month. Just My Reflection, a single by Lone Wolf Country. That's our friend George Wolf from the East Coast. You know George.
Yes, I do.
Eye of the Storm is coming out by Visions of Morpheus. Atmosphere by Brutal Republic. That's our friend Jeremy Ober. And another single that's coming out very soon, Angry Hill, Don't Say. And that is their last single off the Waterfall album that's gotten a really, really great deal of attention. So that's cool. And their first ever Christmas album by Boiler Beach, of course. Those guys are all the way up in past Godrich. What's the next place?
Tilsonburg or something like that.
Kincardine.
Even better.
Blacktop Angel by GM Blacktop, a country artist on our label who hails from the Detroit area, but he's like all over the place because he's a trucker. He's a trucker. He plays trucker country music. Devil is in the Detail by Trick Shot. That is out now wherever you want to buy music. If Wishes Were Horses by Newport Electric. We have two Christmas singles coming out. Santa Claus is back in town. The Elvis classic, sung by our friend Greg with Warren Sin. And then Christmas by the Lake, an original single by Boiler Beach. Man, it's been a busy month.
There you go. Yep.
Lots of music going out there into the waves. And, of course, Boiler Beach's Christmas single got over 1,000 streams like within a week of going live. So
that's beautiful.
Nice to see. They've got a really good following. And this is one thing I want to talk about tonight, too, that people always bitch, nobody goes to my music, nobody looks at my music, nobody, looks at my posts, nobody does this, that, the other thing,
Yep.
right, with my music. And sometimes you're left to wonder and go, hey, why?
Yeah. Yeah. Plenty of reasons for that. I mean, I guess what value you're putting on your own music, would be the first question, right? Um, it's it's a funny thing because I have this conversation a lot. Somebody will say, "Oh, well, the people don't have money to go out and see live music." Oh, yeah, well, I got a friend that sent me a pile of pictures from Madison Square Gardens at the Billy Joel show. So I don't know if that's the thing. People are going to support what they want to support, and that's pretty much it, right?
Oh my God, we got a whole bunch of people online here. I missed the
Yep.
chat room. Brent Durner from Red D Film. Hi, guys. Keith Hill, all the way from up in the not Sault Ste. Marie area, up in the Sioux.
The Sioux.
And Dean Boharnish, one of our loyal followers on here. Thanks, Dinamo, for tuning in. I always appreciate all you guys joining in. Share it out with your friends, man. Share the feed with people. We're really here to try and change the world of music. Sean and I, Sean mentioned it, I think, last show. We're kind of like missionaries.
That's been my life.
I feel like those Jesuit missionaries that got frozen in the St. Lawrence River in the middle of winter.
Yeah, it's it's really funny. I was on a podcast earlier tonight actually, and I was having a conversation with this guy he's got a very successful podcast, and he was talking about how it's really really hard to kind of get to the next level because you're always concerned about what people in your circle think, and he basically said he came to the realization that a lot of a lot of people in his circle didn't really support him, and when he finally realized that, he focused on other things. And I just asked him, I said, well, as you grew, did you ever get people back in your circle? And he goes, slowly, but he called it the cycle where people go from you know what's the word, tolerance, they tolerate you, to they're jealous and they don't want your success, and it's ignore you and hope you go away.
Right. Well, we're hoping to get Michael Brandvold on the show, Sean, so that we can. I've been chatting back and forth with Michael, trying to get him to come back on the show so that we can get him to give us his thoughts on these things we've been discussing the last few weeks. Right now we're at the 9, 10, and 11. Albums are a bad strategy unless you have a fan base. I want to talk about that in a sec. But I also want to acknowledge all these comments that people have here in the chat room. Keith Hills puts this here. Helps to put on your own shows. We did some in Kitchener, rented the Moose Lodge, 3 bands, was a fun time.
Yeah, I think that is something that I do believe is going to have to be the norm. You can control it. Now it's really funny. We did a couple of them last year, and oddly enough, is there going to be alcohol there? And it's like, so. And I mean, I don't know what it's like in Ontario, but trying to deal with alcohol and gaming in this province is just like, I would just sooner not even do the show.
Right.
It's just such a pain in the arse. But I think that's going to have to be a strategy that people are going to have to look at going forward.
Yeah. The Green Ink thing, we don't play out live very often. We're playing the 7th of December at a biker Christmas party at a local club. And basically the way the club does it is up until 10 o'clock, they can run it as a private party.
Okay.
So we're going in there. We're playing from 7 to 9, 2 1-hour sets, right? And back to back. And we don't get out and do that very often, but we had people started approaching us and saying, hey, would you be interested in playing backyard gigs? And I'm like, Yeah, we got the whole production. Yeah, we could come do a backyard gig for the right price,
Yeah.
right? And so people are willing to part with some money to get you to come to a backyard party and pay you to come there.
Man, I made a career out of that in high school. Good
You
lord.
know, well, that's becoming a big thing now. A lot of people have, in later years have gotten properties that have fairly large pieces of land with them,
Yep.
and they've got massive backyards that can hold 100 people, and they hire you to come and play. We played a party a couple of years back right on the beach in Port Stanley. It was freaking awesome. The meal was catered in by some fancy restaurant because somebody that knew somebody that had the cottage got the whole thing catered in,
Yep.
right? It was amazing. They paid us extremely well. They fed us, and whatever you wanted was yours. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. And those types of pop up gigs, I think, are something that I man, I the frequency. I mean, we did one summer, we did three or four. We did one, and a guy that was at the one that we did said, "Would you come and play my house the next weekend?" We happened to be off, and we did it. Um, and it's when you get those things, they're pretty cool.
There's a good example for a band that just even wants to get some publicity out there. Moose Lodge is licensed, and if you ask, they add $1 to drinks for your charity cause if you're doing a toy drive, for example. So, what a
Awesome.
really, really great way! This is another way too to connect with people in your community, get people interested in what you're doing, get people to come out and hear what you're offering the public. Next thing you know, you're getting hired to play somebody's whatever.
Yep, it can happen.
I mean, didn't you guys get a job that way where they flew you across the country to go and play at a wedding?
We we played a wedding in Ireland last year.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
That's what a cool thing that was.
well, it was amazing, and it was a friend of ours, Lily. She's now Lily Cassidy. Her husband Luke. Well, they approached us. I mean, and here's the cycle of things, right? People don't have patience with stuff sometimes. The cycle. She had asked us a year and a half before the wedding, would we consider doing it? And yeah, absolutely. And you know, from that time, it was something to look forward to. And it was one of those things where I'm telling you, like, you always go, you get to do a lot of cool things when you play music and that some people don't, understand. And that was one of them. And, you know, she not seen us play at a bar in Fredericton, never would have happened.
Yeah, don't I here's the whole thing about the don't release an album thing. Don't release an album. They're a bad strategy unless you have a fan base. And that is so absolutely true. I can't count the number of times I've talked to an artist and we want to release an album, want to release an album, want to release an album. Well, how many followers do you have on social media? Oh, about 1,000. Are you engaged with them? Well, we don't know,
Yep.
right? Um, how many do you have on? How many do you have on Instagram? Oh, do we have to have an Instagram account? Oh, are you on Twitter X? Nope. Where are you on social media? Are you on any kind of social media that people can find you and connect you to your music, right? And ultimately you end up doing what's asked of you. You release the album and
Oh, yeah.
it gets it picks up some air at the beginning, and boom, and now you're trying to push on every single track to try and get some traction.
Well, here's I'm I hate to say literally because I'm figuratively to the point now where if I've heard industry professionals that have had success, there's Bobby Sisk, my buddy from Phoenix, Arizona.
Hey,
Um,
Bobby, thanks for joining us.
you want to hear a singer boy? Go check that man out. And now he's a published author. Um, if somebody asks for your help and then they start reciting stuff that they heard off Google, I just let them talk and then I don't bother because it's just going to be a hassle. It's going to be a headache. Um, you know,
You gotta dive deeper than Google. Google is a great place to help you find some really good researched information, but you got to really look deep.
Yeah, but people don't. They always. So what they do is they go to the highest denominator, right? Well, this is what
Yeah.
Jay Z did. Well, you're not
Yeah.
Jay Z.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with that. And the one that I hear a lot. I mean, people lately, and I think it's because of that documentary, talk about Nickelback's story. Well, I know a good friend of mine worked for their record company and had a hand in helping them break, and it's like that's not going to happen in this day and
Yeah.
age. So if that's what
Yeah.
you're hanging your hat on, like, you know,
The only way that you're really going to get the streams that you're after, and I really like the strategy that you and Michelle have been working around that whole piece of engagement, right? Because we're looking at a windfall when we release something new each time, right? And you guys have set the bar higher each time we've done a release, and each release is done incrementally better than the previous one.
well, but there's your organic growth, right? Because I just before I say this, so last week so my friend Bobby, you mentioned Ken Taplin. Bobby's my man with Ken Taplin. We'll leave it at that. But go check out his page because I mean that boy could sing. Bobby, not Ken. But
Hey, I can sing the whole phone book.
Bobby is he's next level. And actually, you want to know what? Him and Michelle, he and Michelle are going to do some sort of collab. We've been talking about it. So, but where was I going with that? What I you're going to be frustrated if you sit down and you go, my goal is to get 1 million streams because it's like playing golf. I had a friend that was like, um, if you're going for par, you're going to be frustrated. So go one over par, and then you take away the pressure. And then if you're under par, so that's kind of what my tactic's been. It's like, okay, well, I'd love to have 1 million, but it might not happen. So here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to shoot for this. And then we kind of just do that, and I consult some people and ask how they've done it. But I mean, it's not me going like, man, I'm the smartest guy in the world. Like, you know what I
No,
mean?
and the cool thing about it is that when we talk back and forth about that, what I like about that banter back and forth is, hey, we're still getting mileage out of this. Like
Sure.
the rocket's still going up. It hasn't had to change rockets yet, and it's
Yep.
not coming down. So let's not do anything yet. Let's keep working this particular track.
Well, and I mean,
And so I've been taking your lead on that, and I've actually been, working those particular tracks, right?
well, and so the funny thing is that I've got a friend who is now on. They've released their third track in under 6 weeks, and I just went to him and I said, "Well, what's your strategy?" Well, I heard this. Well, where did you hear that? And my friend. And okay, so your friend that isn't in any sort of business tells you this is what you got to do. Okay, makes sense. So now what are you going to do? Well, I'm kind of out of songs I'm trying to write right now. Ah, okay. So now you're going to basically, blow the mother load on these three in, 4 weeks. And what are they doing? They're not doing much because he can't focus. He's got to focus on all of them now. He can't just focus on one and try
Well,
to put everything into it.
build momentum on one, milk it for all it's worth, and then when you feel that you can't get any more juice out of it, move to the next.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and you're seeing analytics on your end, and I'm seeing good growth on my end as well. So I mean, not necessarily in places. There's other places I want to see that growth occur
Yep.
because it means better royalty payouts. And you and I've talked a little bit about how the royalty payouts differ from even country to country.
Well, we kind of delved into that last week.
Yeah, we kind of discovered that, and then you and I had a little conversation offline afterwards, where we got a little bit more into some of those analytics and went, "Holy shit! There are some countries that actually pay 4 times what other countries pay for streams."
Well, and you know what? If you actually think about it, though, you know, one might go, well, the more population will probably pay more, and I'm going to say no. The more
No, that's
population will
not
probably
true. That's not
right. They would pay
necessarily.
less, right?
I think it. Honestly, I'm beginning to wonder if those payouts are related to market saturation.
Possibly. I mean, here's the thing. Will they ever tell you? I don't know.
Well, they're not transparent enough to tell us, but I mean, think about it. If you've got good market penetration or concentration in a specific area, and that small area is generating more revenue for you than an area 5 times as big,
Yep.
that's a really valuable area for you to continue to, because that's the low-hanging fruit, dude,
Oh yeah, no question.
right?
And everybody wants to swing for the fences. Like, so, somebody, they'll be like, I got 30,000 views. Okay, but are they like 30,000 true views? Or, would you rather have 1,000 people watching the entire thing or 30,000 people watching 10 seconds? And to me, it's the 1,000 because those are the engaged ones. They're the ones that will tune back in. They're the ones that will spend time on what you're doing. Right.
Well, I think doing the releases with you and Michelle Ryder, I think changed sort of my thought process in terms about releasing music, and said, I really don't want to release anyone's albums anymore unless they've got at least 10,000 organic followers across different platforms. Because if you get 10% of those people, then you've got your 1,000 dedicated followers out of that 10,000.
And you know what? I 100% thank Michael Brandvold for getting me into that mindset, because here's the thing: you can be around chatter. So I mean, I can get up from where I'm sitting, jump in my vehicle, go 5 minutes to the local watering hole, and there's going to be all the armchair quarterbacks that are going to talk about somebody getting 55,000 views on a song on Spotify.
Yeah.
Great, but what does that mean? And people don't like Michael's has me understanding the numbers and what they mean, and what those people are going for. They're going for the thing that is going to keep you never slowing down in the business. The views, but not the engagement. So
Well,
it's like you're throwing a lot of mud at the wall to pick up one or two people that, you know what I mean?
and here's the interesting thing about these streaming services. Okay. And it's an epiphany that I had in the last little while as I thought more and more about how these streaming services operate.
Yeah.
Streaming services essentially are keeping independent and more undiscovered artists that are not getting hundreds of thousands of streams, whatnot, right? They're keeping you unrecouped.
Yes, 100%.
and it's kind of like you being unrecouped to a record label that's got you under their thumb, because the only way you're going to get your music heard digitally is to put it out there, right?
Okay. Well, so how's about this story? So my Mapex drum rep, who I deal with, Toots Craig Toussaint, who's in Pickering, he told me about this guy Bob Lefsis, who has a newsletter. So I subscribed to it, and the one that came today was Drake's petitions, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially Drake is suing. Where is it? UMG and Spotify, claiming they conspired together to have Kendrick Lamar's False song go out and attack Drake into the marketplace. So I ask you, if everybody wants to do the old, I'm on all the streaming platforms. Well, if Drake, who's one of the biggest artists in the world, is now getting picked upon by one of the biggest streaming platforms, what does that tell you about the whole thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, it is one of those things again where those are not so fortunate are being exploited by those who are wealthy.
Well, and Drake's actually accusing Spotify of buying bots to push that. So wouldn't that be interesting?
Right? It'll be interesting to see how that turns out. He's accusing them exactly of what?
So he in the lawsuit, he is basically saying that they are using bots to get more streams on that song to inflate the numbers. That's what's, I guess, allegedly in his lawsuit.
Well, but we know that's really happening. It's just that they're not transparent about it. They allow certain bots to inflate people's streams.
Well, it would be mighty interesting, and I mean, this is speculation. This is from a newsletter that I subscribe to, so this is my personal whatever.
Right.
But wouldn't it be interesting if the very thing that they give the independent guy a hard time about, they're doing, which
Well, here's an interesting thing that I've heard more recently too, is that major record labels these days, right, are not necessarily making money off the streaming part end of the artist's work. They're making it through other means in the contract that they have with the artist, which probably includes royalties from their live shows and their tours and all that other stuff. But because I can tell you, their job is to keep an artist unrecouped.
well, it's Robert Johnson at the crossroads, right? Like you
Yeah.
want to basically be stuck there and sell your soul, and no, absolutely. Like there's countless. I've talked to all kinds of bands and people that know bands who they never ever were able to get it out from under, and they would do things like break up a band because there was no end in sight. Um, and I remember talking to somebody 2 years ago about independent labels. Oh, there's no money up front, and it's like nobody like they're not registering the fact that it's a bank loan or whatever.
Independent labels these days, at least my independent label, we don't bankroll people. What we do is we become an extension of the artist to do things that they don't have the time or the knowledge or even the interest in taking care of that business end of things, because they're more interested in the art.
Yeah, I mean, you do get the savvy people that I guess can do it. There's a friend of ours here that was releasing a song and put up the post that, oh, it's coming out this day, and they were using, I don't remember which one it was, but like a DistroKid or CD Baby. Anyway, something went sideways. It never actually got put in the stream to go up the day that they said it was going to go up. And when she tried to look into it, she wasn't getting any calls back. Nothing was taking place, and so I gave her a couple suggestions, and one of them worked. But her exact words were, what am I doing? Like, this isn't something that I should be doing. Um,
Keith Hill says the art of making music ain't the art of sales. Uh, there's an interconnection there. I believe there's an interconnection there, and the interconnection that I believe is that you are the best salesman of your product than anyone because you know it intimately.
yeah, I mean, people get weird with sales, and I mean, literally everything is sales, and people don't, like I I talk to people about networking, and it's like, well, I don't like the network. Well, you don't like the network because you think you got to sell something, but you don't have to sell something. You're just making a contact, right? Um,
Yeah.
you're selling stuff every day, whether you know it or like it or not, right?
ABC, always be closing. What's Deanbo's got a question for us here. What's that one here? My question for each of those that create vinyl: who are the people that make the vinyl, local or far away outside local areas? Well, my experience, we deal with a bunch of different vinyl suppliers, some in the US, some not, some in Canada. Um, and it's not super cheap to produce an album on vinyl, and there's minimum orders that are required to get the price down to a tolerable level, let's say.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're not going to buy one T-shirt and expect to get a good deal, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, to get out the door with a basic vinyl album, 180 gram. I wouldn't go with 140. I'd spend a little extra and go to 180 gram. It's higher quality vinyl, better grooves in it, as far as I'm concerned. Better quality all the way around. So spend that little extra on the 180 gram. But to get out the door with a unit here in Canada, you'd be lucky to get out the door for $18 with a very basic pressed package with a sleeve, shrink wrapped in a cardboard two-sided artwork format.
Yeah, not cheap.
No, and some processes are convoluted. Like we just did a pressing through Third Man Records in Detroit. Wow, that was a major task. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because the art, you have to outsource the artwork. They don't do any artwork for you in house. So you have to go to a third party who they recommend, who knows all their templates and everything. And then the third party creates the artwork for you. You know, you provide them with the content, they create the artwork, and then format it, send it back to Third Man Records, who then will, you know, package everything, put together in those cardboard jackets. This was a gatefold project with lyrics, I believe, and it was a nightmare.
Yep.
There was a lot of work involved in, and I think even at the end of the day, there was something wrong with the test pressing. I think it was side 1, side 2 instead of side A, side B. Something like that. It was something really, really weird that was asked for that got overlooked in the test pressing.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff's going to cost you money, you know, and then you wonder why people, you know, will you do a gig for $100? Well, the worst cymbal on my drum set costs more than $100, and you want me to play a gig for, you know what I mean? Like it's just,
well, and you're looking at $3,000 to $4,000 for 300 units of vinyl.
wow.
You know, and that's for 300 units. Now the cool thing about it is that if you get lacquer plates, you can press up to 50,000 units. If you sell 50,000 units of vinyl, that's gold, man.
Yeah, I mean, not even some of the like majors are doing that. That's a you know what I mean. That's a pretty big.
I mean, think back to the day though when vinyl was really, really big. Bands like Helix, they sold their first 10,000 albums at bar gigs.
Oh yeah.
How did you say? Because they took them out in the parking lot with them when everybody was outside on breaks and sold their albums to people.
Well, we used to have cassettes. I have the band cassette, but we didn't do
Yeah.
a CD.
Yep.
We did a cassette, and we used to play the Misty Moon in Halifax, and right across the street was Sam the Record Man. And every time we played there, we'd have a run of CD or cassettes, and we sold thousands of them because we'd sell them from the stage and we'd sell them in the club, and then when we weren't playing, we'll go to Sam's, and that's how it was done.
Well, we're actually thinking about doing a pressing of CDs, or download fobs or something like that to be sold at truck stops for GM Blacktop's music.
Cool.
He sold when he first came out with his album Still Real. That was a while back because I re-released the album, and then we decided that we were going to change up the album because part of the album was more rockabilly and the other one was more traditional country, because half the album was recorded in Nashville and the other half of the album was recorded here in Canada.
Deanbo. So for the holiday season, every adult should not buy ties or socks for their spouses. Buy records and make the sales go crazy on vinyl. P.S. I have many cassettes, still a case full of ones recorded off vinyl. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's vinyl's had a resurgence. One of the guys that I play in a band with had a ton of vinyl, and I started, collecting some again, and I've got almost the complete Kiss collection once again.
I posted the link to our website because a couple of things. We put on there that we sell digital music straight off the website. So this is the best way to directly benefit an independent artist, is to go to their page. You can download their track. It costs you $1 a track Canadian. It's cheap. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee. Lasts you a lifetime. You won't piss it out in a half an hour.
Well,
you can go to our website and download it. You can use every pay option known to man these days. We have Google Pay, we have Apple Pay, we have all the major credit cards. So you have no excuse. You can even use your PayPal account to pay us directly and make sure that your download goes smoothly. But we did some tests on a couple of days ago, because we do quality control tests on the website periodically, and the transactions are going through like very, very smooth. And we did have a hiccup. Did I tell you about the hiccup on there?
No.
So we had our prices set in US dollars, not Canadian dollars. And as a Canadian company, we have to set all of our currency to Canadian, unless we're also registered in the US. So I had to go back and change every product on the website to Canadian
Wow.
in order to allow the credit card features to work. PayPal was the only feature that was working, and I didn't know about it until Boiler Beach put out their album, and they started directing people to the website, and people started going to the website to download the album and pay for the album, and lo and behold, they couldn't make a credit card purchase. So Terry's right away in Facebook chat to me, hey Ken, can you fix this problem? I'm like, didn't know there was one.
Yeah.
And you go, and I'm not a techie guy when it comes to this shit, right? But this is where you got to pay attention to stuff and get it dealt with really, really quick. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems. Anyways, we had the problem sorted out within a half an hour.
It's always something, man, in tech land.
It was all good. It was all good at the end of the day. But man, what a bit of BS and unneeded stress that was.
Absolutely.
So we talked about, why you shouldn't release an album. There's a whole lot of reasons why, but one good reason would be get yourself at least 10,000 organic followers, and then hope that 10% of those people are engaged, because there's your 1,000 people.
Yep.
And work away at getting that faithful following of 10,000 people who are going to do a number of things. They're either going to buy or download your music every time you release it, or they're going to go on there and stream your song 10 times. Right?
Absolutely.
And so if all 1,000 people of those 1,000 people stream your song 10 times, there's your first 100,000 streams. And it's all legit.
Right. In theory, yes, that should work. But the unfortunate part, it's like trying to get somebody to subscribe to a YouTube channel. They can't take 10 to 15 seconds to do it. Here's
like
a
working
tip.
with musicians. It's like herding cats.
Well, yeah, but here's a tip. Sign into YouTube and stay signed into YouTube. Then that way, you don't have to keep putting your email address in there. All you got to do is hit subscribe, and it will subscribe.
That's right.
Immediately.
Right. Stay logged into YouTube. I stay logged into Google because I get Google alerts. If I don't stay logged in, I don't get those alerts real time, right?
Yep.
And I like to, I got a Google alert the other day. Oh, we're going to shut down. We're going to shut your online Google store down. I'm like, no, you're not. Well, what happened? Because I didn't respond to a text message they sent me saying, is this business still open for business?
Yep.
And you've got to respond to that, because if you don't, they will take your Google store offline, and that loses you search engine optimization.
Oh, yes. Trust me.
Definitely. So you don't want your SEO to go.
No, and I mean, nobody's in it for the customer. They can say anything they want about service, but they're not. They're in it to profit. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, we've got we come up in the first 10 Google searches now. All you got to do is start typing IND, and all of a sudden, Indie Tunes records go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all search engine optimization. I think there's about 67 more optimizations I've got to go through and do. Right? Because every time you add an artist to your and a page to your website, now they want you to do separate search engine optimization on each page on your website, so your pages can all be indexed. Mm-hmm. That's like putting bamboo shoots under my fingernails. That's so painful doing that stuff.
But they're trying to convince you either pay them to do it for you or get somebody to do it for you. And pay that person.
I'm too cheap to do that, man. If I can do it myself and I know what I'm doing, then I'd rather do it myself.
No, you're starting to sound like the musician that's trying to load his stuff on the on DistroKid or Crybaby. That's the guy that doesn't make it to CD
Cry
baby.
baby.
Yeah.
I'm actually beta testing another music platform, and I'm putting artist music out there. And it's this new music platform is guaranteed to help us get a foothold in Japan and China.
Interesting. What is it?
I can't say. It's
Oh,
all
okay.
beta. It's all beta mode testing right now. But if we're successful and we start getting the traction that I'm hoping for, and the problem is it's a paid for service.
Well, I mean, okay. I don't know. Sometimes paying for stuff makes sense,
Yep.
right? This whole notion that everything has to be free. And so I had this conversation with a friend of mine today
Yep.
where somebody was doing a show on Saturday, and they put their post through to me, and I didn't see it. Hey man, what's going on with the post? And I'm like, I don't know. And so I looked, and they put the exact same thing in about 10 or 12 free websites, like free Facebook pages.
Right. I'm going to give you an example of a company that does this, in my estimation, really, really well. The company is Co-host. They own a digital audio workstation called Reaper. Now, in my estimation, Reaper is like any other digital audio workstation, only on steroids, right? But Reaper, unlike all the other digital audio workstations, like Cakewalk and what are all the other ones? I don't even think about them. But all the other digital audio workstations, when you're trialing them, when they give you a trial version, they don't give you all the bells and whistles.
That's normal.
These guys give you everything right off the hop, right? And they say to you in there, if you're making less than so many dollars a year, this is your price. If you're a commercial business, this is your price. And it's very reasonable. It's like $69. I think it's $69 for a lifetime license through the next two cycles of versions, which usually goes to like 1.9 and that goes to 2.0, right?
Oh, at some point they'll shake you upside down again for change.
But they get 10. You get basically 10 iterations. Before they did an upgrade that they asked me to repay for on Reaper, I had already had Reaper for 8 years.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty damn good. If you get an upgrade and the upgrade is not, it's the same money as it was before. They haven't increased their prices at all.
Well, if it's if it's working for them, sure. But
well, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, here's just an idea of a company that is giving you the upfront. This other company doesn't give you the upfront. You're frozen at 5 tracks, unless you're willing to pay a subscription cost of so many dollars a month, right? So the beta test is get those 5 tracks up there. If you don't show me some results on those 5 tracks, why would I buy your paid version? Because you're only going to be holding the carrot in front of me and saying, yeah, but you're not getting the traction because you're not on our paid version.
Well, but I mean, to the guy that got mad at me because I missed his post when he had them on 12 other things. That's fine, but here's the thing: I can actually see where they're going. I can see who's looking at them, and so and you want to do that and not pay for it. Okay, well that's fine. And my line was, "Oh, sorry, miss you. Get you next time." And he was mad, and it's like, well, but you're not putting any value on my time. You're not putting any value on
right.
And that's the problem. Is
well, and this is a company that's offering a free platform, like it's right on their whole.
Yeah, that's cool, but that's also like hey, I'm the guy that plays for $50 less than the other guy. I mean, that's like, is it solving a problem? I guess it is.
But if you show me some results with the free version, right? It's like, okay, I'm willing to go to the next level, and I'm willing to trial your premium version here, right? And I'm willing to try it for 6 months. I mean, that's what I did. That's what I decided to do with another service that I'm on. I decided to hit the premium level on another service that I'm on because I felt that it would get me less, and it does. It's changed my whole algorithm of what I see on that platform now, right? And so by being a premium subscriber to that platform now, I can see things I didn't see before. People are seeing my post. The right people are seeing my post now. People in the music industry are seeing my post, and I'm getting engagement that I never got before.
Well,
so
if it's working for you, great.
And to me, that there's some value out of that because I'm getting the engagement that I'm looking for. And it's not about, I don't think I'm getting a huge return on the investment. What I think I'm getting is being able to broaden my brand out there. Right?
Well, that's a whole other thing, though. I mean, so there's many steps to branding, right?
Yep.
But here's the part about branding people always miss, and this comes from a very good friend of mine who's a marketing person. They don't understand their own brand, and they think once they have a brand, the brand's just going to work for them. They don't have to actually push the brand. They don't have to work the brand. They don't have to do any of that. The brand will take care of itself, which is
right.
If you're a McDonald's, sure, maybe. If you're, I don't know, Irving out here or Sobeys, maybe. But there's so many steps to branding that people miss.
Well, and you have to establish yourself as a brand.
Yeah, no question.
Like you have to establish yourself as a brand, and establishing yourself as a brand is more than just deciding about who or what you are, but it also comes with other things like what logos are you going to use that are going to help make what you're doing somewhat memorable and stick with people.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it a bunch where you have a maybe say it's a musician and they do their own brand, like it's a brand for their name or whatever.
Can you put up your left finger for me, straight up beside your head, right? Your left finger.
That was my left finger.
Straight up there, straight up. So there's the Indie Tunes logo that Sean's pointing at. Thank you, Brent Durner.
Okay.
That is all the result of my wicked twin, Brent Durner, joining the label, and he said, "You know what? You need a really sort of cool looking label for Indie Tunes Records." And so he drafted that logo up for me, and he's done the logo for me on my splash pages, on everything that is Indie Tunes Records, and I'm so grateful for that.
Brent's a dude. I was going to mention to you, you wanted to talk to me, and you're 3 minutes into your 10 minutes that I said I could do. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll have only need 5 minutes. Okay. All right. Well, we're at the end of the show, everybody. We didn't get to those last few truths. Social media is a reflection of you. If it isn't working, you can improve everything. You're not too good for covers. We did touch on that a bit tonight, and we're going to get into that some more probably next week. And we're going to try and get Michael Brandvold, who is a digital marketing specialist from the San Francisco, California area. Get Michael on the show to talk about these things because he works with it every day with his PR firm.
Yes, he does.
Want to thank Sean. Greatly appreciate having you on the show, brother. Always great to have you here.
My pleasure.
What's on the menu this week for band bar sales and band talk?
I'm trying to think now. So it was announced last week that Rock the Harbor is going to be back for a third year, so I'm going to be doing some work with those guys. So that's exciting. There's going to be an announcement, I think, next week on the lineup. Doing a show with Michelle and the gang on Friday night, which is we do a yearly Volunteer of the Year award for people within our group. So we're rewarding Chantel Lee and Stephen Ruxton, who are two amazing volunteers. Are going to get some hardware on Friday night. Always happy to do that. And I got a couple other interviews lined up and some recording, so always something on the go.
When is McKenna Promotions launching?
It's never not launched, man.
It's in a work, isn't it?
No. I guess here's all I will tell you is that always open for a conversation, but the conversations about free have stopped and run dry. And to all those people that are getting mad at me, I apologize, but my time's worth something, right? So
Things are changing, and so are things changing at TUNZ Records. Be warned, everybody, for next year, because 2025 is going to be a whole new ball game for us all. All right. Well, this has been great. Love having you on the show, Sean. Remember, I'm Kenny from TUNZ Records, and you're not. This has been the